sounds like Cooper Kupp thinks he got a raw deal from the Los Angeles Rams. He didn't get a lot of clarity. Yeah. Guy won the freaking Super Bowl MVP, and you're just going to shove him off? You're going to put him on an iceberg and float him away, and you're not going to explain to him why you're doing what you're doing? Now, maybe he wasn't willing to admit that he's dipping down to number 3 on the depth chart, but it sure sounds like he's not thrilled with how it ended, Chris.
No, it doesn't, and I don't know the full details there, right? It's never easy. I'm sure he's a little bitter as a competitor. Again, he's going back, and it's going to move his family and have to change life that way. I'm sure he looked at L.A. as going, wait, I won the Super Bowl, I won the Super Bowl MVP. I'm going to be here my whole career. That's a tough thing too. And then I also do wonder if there was any talks about taking less money, or maybe he was willing to do that, and maybe the Rams just shut the door on all things of that nature, right? And that's where I feel like it might have got a little bitter too. I just wonder that, especially with Les Snead when he last week made the comments, right, about him coming back to the Rams is the least likely option, right? Those are the kind of things that make me wonder if there were some talks about, hey, maybe we can make this happen. Maybe we could salvage this. He'd come back for this number, whatever, and maybe the Rams didn't play ball that way.
They're all pieces in a giant football machine that will be changed out at some point, and sometimes they don't want to be taken out of the machine, but they're taken out of the machine anyway because the machine is deciding it's in his best interest to do something else. And look at what they ultimately did. They gave every dollar that was earmarked for Kupp and then some to Davante Adams. So it wasn't that they didn't want to pay for a number 2 receiver. They just didn't see Kupp as the number 2 guy. They're paying Davante Adams to be the number 2 to Puka Nacua more than they were going to pay Kupp. Now, speaking of paying receivers more than you want to pay them, there was a little back and forth on Friday where Adam Schefter kind of contradicted himself. At first he said the Cowboys are making a push for Cooper Kupp.
Right, I saw
and then
that.
The tweet was, well, maybe not much of a push. They're not expected to be his landing spot. And now we pick up a little bit more because in his podcast he explained, Schefter did, that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb had called Cooper Kupp to recruit him to the Cowboys. But then once the Cowboys found out what it was going to cost, that was that. They're not going to pay him. No Cooper Kupp to Dallas. So that would explain how you go from, hey, everybody's all fired up. Dak and CeeDee are on board with Cooper Kupp. Let's go. Hey, Jerry, we got him. Let's go. He's interested. And Jerry says, okay, fine, but no, we're not paying $15 million a year. So Cooper Kupp goes elsewhere. Yeah. And in hindsight, it makes perfect sense because he got $15 million a year from the Seattle Seahawks.
Makes perfect sense, right? We thought and we discussed that the impediment of maybe why there wasn't a ton of teams or action for him at first was because of the price tag, right? And there's obviously some teams out there that are looking at it just like the Rams did and went, I like him. I like what he did. But his age, where he's going, a little bit of banged up and being injured and all that, I don't know if I want to make that kind of investment into him. But he found the right spot. He found a place where, the part of the country he's from, that does mean something to these teams at times. And then, of course, they're like all things. They needed it. They needed somebody. They needed somebody proven that they could go, wait, okay, we got to put something across from Jackson Smith and Jigma. We got no Lockett and Metcalf now. We're in a little trouble here. So, that's where it all came together for Cooper Kupp, and I'm happy for him there up in Seattle.
Interested to see the full breakdown. I mean, ultimately, I think it would have been very hard for them to structure it in any way that keeps the Rams from retaining or at least getting back the $5 million roster bonus that was fully guaranteed for Cooper Kupp. 3 years, 15. I don't think they were able to structure it in a way that forces the Rams to pay any of that money. So the Rams made out because somebody valued him at more than what the Rams are obligated to pay him. But at the end of the day, look, I don't know what kind of a deal it is. We saw last week what the Sam Darnold deal ultimately became. 3 years, 100.5. Yeah, it's 1 year, 37.5. We'll see what the Cooper Kupp deal is. There's a chance it's 1 year.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's 1
maybe
year.
Maybe 17.
Right.
17 for 1 year, and then they decide after this year what they're going to do.
Exactly. Right. He's going to have to earn year 2 and then really have to earn year 3. That's what I would kind of expect, right? That it is, yes, that 1 year, the first year with maybe a signing bonus or whatever. The guarantees will be a little bit more than 15. right? And then the 2 years after that, yes, will have to be earned with play and staying healthy and making sure that they feel the Seahawks do as an organization that he can still put a good product back on the football field, in 26 and 27.
Especially because this is year 3 for Jackson Smith and Jigba. After this year, they're going to have to pay him. Just like after this year, the Rams are going to have to pay Puka Nacua. It's easier to justify an expensive number 2 when your number 1 is locked in at bargain basement rates, which creates a ridiculous disparity and imbalance, and I think it only makes it more imperative to reward your number 1 when the window opens on his second contract, because what would have gone to him is going to the next guy on the depth chart because he can be paid. It's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous system. These guys have to wait 3 years. Once you see that a guy is establishing himself, you should be allowed to sign him to a second contract. You should be able to do it after 1 year, not 3 years. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.